Welcome to a sports betting podcast from pregame.com for the week of October 22nd, 2009. I'm your host, RJ Bell, and I'm joined by Marco D'Angelo, 30 years in the business, Vegas runner, genuine professional bettor here in Vegas. This is segment 5 of 5 this week, Monday Night Football preview. Okay, as usual, Mark, or Vegas runner, we go to you for the line report. What's happening in this game?
All right. They opened this game up, Philadelphia, as a 7-point road favorite, but 7 even money. Meaning, if you're going to take Washington plus 7, you got to lay $1.20. And you could take Philly minus 7 at even money, no vig, with the total of 39. We're now looking at the spread of 7 minus 110 either way, and a total of 37.
So a little bit of money on Philly.
Right, but it looks like they were bracing for wise guy action on Washington, charging them $1.20 to take 7 points. But when they didn't bite, figuring the public's going to come in on Philadelphia, now it's back to 110. That's what I think happened, because they were thinking they're going to take a touchdown on an NFL game.
Speaking of the VIG, Marco and I were down at the M this weekend, Sunday, and they have a cafe right next to the sports book, French fries or whatever, called the VIG.
Damn.
I kind of like that. I kind of like that.
Too.
All right, so Marco, we are about sports betting. It's about empowering our listeners with information. What's the one key factor bettors should consider on this game?
Do you want to bet a bad team? And the home dog is a very bad team. And that's what we're looking at here. Very similar to me to a Sunday night game earlier in the season. And this just reminds me of Indianapolis and Tennessee. Is this the game, because it's national TV, that you're going to get that good performance out of Washington?
Well, here's the differences, though. One is maybe Tennessee wasn't considered as bad as maybe they've turned out to be, but Indy was playing as well as anyone in football. This Philly team's not playing well at all. And even considering that you had this Indy team that was so good, they were only laying 3.5 in that game. We're up to a full touchdown here. So we're past the point of anyone wondering how good Washington is. Which brings up, to me, one of my most potent concepts in the NFL, which is you want to play undervalued teams, which are usually bad teams. The teams with good records are not usually undervalued. No. But you only play bad teams. Every week, if you did the following, I think you'd hit over 50%. List all of the teams that are undervalued, that are bad, and scratch out the ones that you think might not be playing hard for whatever reason.
Right.
And if what you have left is a team which is undervalued, so you're getting points, they're professional, but they're going to try their hardest. And that's where the trick is, because sometimes you run into teams that's given up and they lose 41-0.
Correct. Or
whatever, New England beat Tennessee this year, and you say, see what happens when you bet bad teams? But that doesn't usually happen when you bet against a team that's really trying. And to me, this Washington team, how in the world could they have their head together for this game?
Yeah, you just lost to Kansas City. What's worse is, and you're absolutely right, they've already decided Washington's bad, because the future line on this game, and when you could have bet it back in August, July, Philly was a 1-point favorite only. So now they're at a touchdown.
Which,
that's
huge
for NFC East, especially since Washington has covered like 5 of the last 6. They've won the last
5 or
4
6
straight
against
up.
Philly.
Yeah, against Philadelphia.
Because in general, and this is a stat that was an eye popper, of the last 14 games with Washington, they've only covered 2.
Philadelphia has.
No. With Washington as a team,
yeah.
They've only cut. If you would have bet Washington 14 straight times, you would have cashed twice.
This year, out of the 6 games, they've been a favorite 4 times.
Up until this week, they've yet to play a team that had a win entering the game. Every week they played a team that didn't have a win.
So they're bad, man.
So and again, I think we're finally at the point where, because let's be honest, Philly's power ranking is way down from what it would have been early in the year.
Sure.
So here's a team that's down 1 notch, and you've got a team which is Philly. You got Washington down 3 notches or 4, and you've got a 7-point road favorite in division.
On Monday Night Football, which you generally don't see big favorites on Monday Night Football. The other problem with Washington, not only, do you got to question if this team has quit, you got all kinds of, questions regarding the coach. Is Jeffrey Snyder going to pull the trigger? I mean, this guy's quick to hire and fire coaches.
Jeffrey Snyder.
What'd I say?
Jeffrey Snyder.
What is it?
Just Mr. Snyder, and then you won't have to worry about it.
Oh, what a guy! But again, owners
It's like
that
on Jeopardy. You want to just give the last name. Okay.
owners that are too much of a in the trenches with their teams. These teams aren't doing good. Al Davis in Oakland, Jerry Jones in Dallas. They're owners for a reason. They're not coaches and they're not GMs. Get the personnel in there to do it. They're making another switch this week because the Washington offense has been so horrible all year. They're bringing a guy out of retirement to call the plays.
And remember now, let's jump back. Is when we had a stat, and I can't remember the exact number, but 3 teams changed their OC, offensive coordinator, before the season started.
Yeah.
And they started out. They had one after 3 weeks.
There was
they had
Tampa Bay and Kansas City and one other team.
And
correct.
Buffalo. And they had played each other 1 game. So there were 7 games in the first 3 weeks that they didn't play each other, and they were 0-7 ATS. Disruption. There's a reason they start these mini camps in May. There's a lot of work to do for the sophistication of these teams. Now you're going to disrupt them. I rarely like playing road favorites, but man, I can't imagine there's value with Washington. I'm not sure I'd bet Washington plus 14.
No, I agree, and I made the mistake of backing this team against Kansas City, thinking how could you lose to Kansas City? I didn't think Washington was as bad, and the public has been betting against them and cashing every week, and the odds makers still haven't lowered the number on them.
It's getting adjusted.
Here, finally, it's finally getting adjusted with this week because, like you said, what I don't understand with this team is why are they this bad offensively? The answer has to be Campbell's not the answer because they have receivers. They have a running back. I mean, when you got Randall L to throw to and Santana Moss and Chris Cooley as your tight end, you should have some completions. When you got Clinton Portis in your backfield, you should run the ball a little
Insiders are telling me with Portis is
he's old.
It's an old issue. The running backs get old very quickly.
True.
And he's dropped off the cliff.
But they
finally
should have
benched
some
Campbell
offensive
last
success,
week.
Man.
They pulled Campbell and brought in Collins, and it got even worse.
It was kind of funny because Marco's like, look, he goes, oh, good, they're putting in the second string. I'm like, this guy's been in the whole year, but now he's finally good enough to play. That's not a good sign.
How many times have you seen the backup quarterback come in and spark them?
They committed to Campbell about 3 or 4 years ago as the franchise, as the future.
Well, but they were trying to trade him to Denver, so for Cutler. All right, so I can't lie. I actually had Kansas City last week as my underdog game of the year.
You did.
Gave it away in the forums.
Good job.
Now, I actually rarely sell picks. I give them away, and again, I don't bet a lot of games, but mostly when I do, I give it out. So you can go to pregame.com, click forums, and each day we've got good threads of games I'm betting. I had my game of the year. Unfortunately, you and I made a bet, and we had to do a quick payoff on this.
Quick?
We only got a minute 45. We bet a nickel. And I had Minnesota laying 2.5. I got a good number like I always do. And we were down the M, and we were watching this game, and I got to tell, me and my buddy were with Marco. We were laughing at it. We were saying, oh, look, it's 17 now, pointing up at the screen.
Yeah, that game.
And somehow, some way, a couple flukes happened. I'm not going to judge it. And Marco won by a half point.
They came through the garage.
So I'm going to make my payment to Marco, and I'm just going to say, I hope you feel a little guilty about this, is all I'm going to say.
Again,
he says
this
it all
is the
spends
value
the
of a
same.
half point.
Yeah, that is true.
Value of a half point.
And it does bring up one other quick lesson. Sports betting there's randomness in the short term. We all know Minnesota was the right side last week. Marco's collecting the money. But if you're on the right side like RJ most weeks, you're going to win most weeks. But this week, Marco, you get the money, and congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Now, real quick, in the prior section, I don't see any bets I want to make this week.
That's
with
what
you.
I said.
Yeah, I was gonna back the
anyway?
Giants, but I'm not going to. So this week we'll pass the betting, and I'm sure next week we'll be.
We'll get some stuff.
We'll be doing
week.
with it. All right, good stuff. This has been this week's show. We had 5 full segments. Remember, you can watch all of the segments at pregame.tv, or if you use your iTunes or iPod, you can go to iTunes, download and listen. Just search for pregame.com.
Drinks on me at the end.